What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now today I have an unboxing and first impressions on the Nike Phantom 6. So these I actually got from Tokyo Football. They do have them in stock and the price is basically the same. The only thing obviously is the shipping. The shipping is more. So it is a little bit more expensive, but if you want like this colorway now and you don't want to wait, just like me, then you could get them at Tokyo Football. Like I said, I honestly just didn't want to wait until August to get this colorway just because I really like it. And I was gonna get the standard the first colorway, but it wasn't my favorite, I guess. But once I saw these, I knew I kind of wanted this colorway, so that's the reason why I got them. But yeah, here we have it: Phantom 6 Low Elite FG LV8, and LV8 I guess means that it's not like a whole, like it's not like a main pack. It's just like a tournament pack, and because of that, we won't get an AG version of this colorway, which kind of sucks. Just because I actually wanted to try out the AG version. But here we have the string bag, and it kind of matches the colorway of the boots. So white with this blue and like the yellow logo there. Phantom logo. Really nice bag design in my opinion. And then here we do have the boots. And like I said, I really like this colorway. This like blue with this like kind of off-white color. It's not like fully white. It's like kind of an off-white or eggshell white kind of. Um, but yeah, they look really nice. And then like the hint of yellow here is very, very nice. So let me know what you guys think of this colorway down below in the comments, and we'll get right into it. Alright guys, so here we have it, the Nike Phantom 6. So they did change the name. It's no longer the GX, it's the Phantom 6. And they kind of explained it, and honestly I don't want to explain because it is kind of confusing. But now it's just called the Phantom 6. And it looks very similar, or it's like heavily inspired by the GX1. Basically the same like shape and like this shroud that you have here. It's basically the same. So this feels more like that true successor to the GX1. So this would kind of be the GX2 um, instead of the GX2. But yeah, they look very similar. Obviously they made some changes, which I'll talk about. So I guess we'll start with the upper. So it still features a grip knit upper, and they kind of went back from a one-piece upper to like another two-piece upper. So we do have this shroud here, and you know the grip knit is over this fly knit area. But you know this grip knit is still really soft, nice and pliable. It does feel a little bit softer out of the box compared to the GX2. The GX2 did feel not like stiff, but there was a breaking period just because those lines were embossed into the upper, and this time around this like pattern here, it is knitted, so it's a little bit more like soft, not as structured. um and yeah, it feels really nice. So the ribs, honestly, you guys can like hear it, you can feel it in hand, but they're not all that significant. I'm trying to show the side profile. Hopefully I'm doing a good job. They don't really stick out all that much, but I guess it won't matter just because like the grip knit upper does provide a good amount of grip. You do have this section here, like I guess for shooting the ball, and it is a little bit more raised, and like the pattern, you could feel it a little bit more. It is maybe slightly firmer, um, yeah, but not by much. Like it doesn't feel like super like different. But I'm just curious to see how it's gonna feel when shooting the ball. Obviously, I don't think it's gonna like make your shot like harder or like make you like able to curl the ball. But I feel like it'll just give a nice sensation here when shooting the ball. Obviously, I'll let you guys know in the play test. And then here we do have, you know, fly knit, and it's a little bit of a pattern here, so there's a little bit of texture, but for the most part, it feels pretty stretchy. We do have the laces, where the last lace hole here, um, it is covered by the shroud. It's only like one lace hole, so it's not the whole, it's not multiple. So I guess that's fine. And then here in the heel, um, basically the same heel in terms of like the construction, where the like the heel internal heel cup is kind of cut out here on the side, so there's no pressure point, nice and flexible. I have no idea what these ridges here are for. The heel, you know, it feels like it has less padding than the GX2, and it's similar to the GX1. Um, I feel like the GX2 had a good amount of padding. This time around, it's not as thick, I feel like, of the heel in terms of the padding. And you guys can see there's like perforations and this graphic, which honestly, I don't think really does anything. But you know, the heel feels pretty nice. The insole there is just a standard Nike insole. It is glued, which is kind of annoying. You can take it out, but it is a struggle. Honestly, don't really care for it, so I'll just leave it there. But they do have these silicone grips on the inside where it kind of helps prevent from sliding around. So I guess that's nice. I didn't have an issue with the GX2 or the GX1, so I don't know why they implemented it, but I guess it's nice. It will move around. Something else that I noticed compared to the launch colorway is the Nike logo doesn't have those spikes, which was a little crazy. These are normal. But yeah, the upper, nothing new, but it is a refinement, I think. Obviously, I haven't played with them. I don't know how they perform yet, but hopefully, it is an improvement in terms of like the fit, the comfort, and performance. Obviously, I'll talk more about the fit later on in the video. Now we do get a new sole plate for the Phantom 6, and it looks like a good improvement coming from the Cyclone 360 sole plate, just because that sole plate was super chunky. I guess it performed well in terms of providing a good amount of bite, but for me it just felt super chunky on feet. Like, I don't know, the studs just felt really like big, if that makes any sense, just because the Cyclone 360 took a lot of space up here. But yeah, this time around they added more conical studs. So here we have two conical studs and then four conical studs here. So it's gonna feel a little bit more balanced, I feel like. We do have blades here in the heel, and then we have still the Cyclone 360, but it is a lot smaller, and the studs are also smaller. They're not as thick. So I think this will be better in terms of not feeling super chunky. So that's good. There is an AG sole plate, which is all conical studs, but not in this colorway. I really wanted this, so I just went with the FG. But I think I'll be fine on AG. I've used like blades on AG, and I don't recommend it. Obviously, I just played on AG since I started playing, so for me, I'm used to it, and I know that my body can handle it. Like my knees will be fine, so I'm just used to it by now. I don't really have an issue. Um, so yeah, I feel like I've used like more aggressive stud patterns on AG. I feel like this will be fine. But obviously, if you're playing majority on AG, just get the AG sole plate. They improved here the midfoot where it's a lot stiffer, and honestly, that's good just because the Luna sole plate or the GX2 sole plate was very like flexible here, so you guys can see the spine how it kind of pops out a little bit more. There we go. So it's nice and like pretty stiff here in the midfoot. The forefoot, it is still pretty flexible, which is nice. I think it goes well with the upper that is nice and soft. And for me, I honestly, like I said, I don't mind a flexible sole plate. It's not too flexible. There is a little bit of not stiffness, but there is a little bit of something there. It's not overly flexible, not like the GX1, but it's still on the flexible side. All right, so now we'll move on to an on-feet portion, and I'll let you guys know how they fit and feel on feet. All right, guys. So here we have the Nike Phantom 6 on feet, and I'm not gonna lie, they feel pretty similar to the first generation, the GX1. In terms of the midfoot, they did change the shape in the toe box, which I actually really like. It's a lot more round. It's not as pointy, and there's just a little bit more volume compared to the first and second generation. I felt in the GX1 and GX2 there was just it was really like kind of pointed and it was really low in volume. And so even though it wasn't uncomfortable, it wasn't like the most comfortable like toe box. This they do change the shape. You guys can see that it is just a little bit more round. So for me, my toes don't feel like they're being squeezed. They're just a little bit more comfortable. And I guess the length, there isn't really much dead space here in the toe box, just because it's not as pointy. There was just a little bit of dead space, which honestly it didn't really affect sizing, just because you couldn't go half a size down. If not, it would have been too tight. But this time around, they do feel better in the toe box and in this like forefoot area, so I really like that. So if you did struggle with like feeling a little bit too tight in the toes, these should be better. The midfoot, they're not as wide as the GX2. They're kind of similar to the GX1 with just a little bit more volume, I find. I feel like they're not as tight straight out of the box. I do believe these will get better as you just play with them and break them in. They will break in nicely, just like the GX1. But the GX1 did take a little bit of time to break in if you did have a wider foot. They just feel like they have a little bit more volume to them, and a little bit more width compared to the GX1. Compared to the GX2, they're not as wide and they don't have as much volume. But the overall vibe I'm getting is similar to the GX1. The heel feels pretty good, decent amount of padding there. No issues whatsoever. They feel fine. The sole plate, obviously, I'm just standing here. No stud pressure, which is nice. For me, this is the best fitting GX or Phantom that they've had, like in terms of the GX1, GX2. This fits me the best just because of the toe box. But like I said, it's nothing crazy, nothing new. It's something that they've used before. And so I feel like they just made tweaks and just made them a little bit more comfortable. In terms of sizing, I went true to size. So I would just recommend going true to size. But yeah, I'll leave you guys with my final thoughts. Alright guys, so now the Phantom 6, it's kind of weird just because this boot isn't anything new. Like we've seen this design from Nike before with the GX1. I do think they make small improvements, especially here in the fit in the toe box. I just appreciate that the toe box is a little bit rounder and just slightly wider and not as low volume. So I appreciate that. Obviously, I don't know how they perform yet in terms of like how grippy this upper will feel and like the lockdown. But for the most part, I feel like we've seen this from Nike before. They're just kind of going backwards and then fixing like small problems. I just don't understand why they made a huge transition from the GX1 to the GX2 and then going back to something similar to the GX1. It's just a little confusing. I do think that the fit is better than the GX1 and the GX2. The sole plate for sure feels really nice. Obviously, I haven't tried them yet, but just initial impressions, they feel pretty good. But yeah, it feels kind of similar to the GX1, which isn't a bad thing because the GX1 was a really good boot. I feel like they just make small like tweaks to the boot just to make it slightly more comfortable. So that's it for today's video. I will be doing a playtest on the Phantom 6 just to talk more about the performance. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification. If you guys did like this video, make sure to leave a like. If you guys have any questions on this boot, just let me know down in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.